Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to PCM23 Lions, episode 100, Century Mark. Thanks for being with me. Let's get on with the series. Now, we've moved past January the 1st as much as I want to, and I've done a lot more work in preparation, and ultimately, I'm going to have to wait a little bit for World Tour invites to kind of start falling in place to really fill out the calendar properly. I've done a lot more to build the objectives. I'll show you one quick piece of that here in a moment. Bad news. With all the good news that we've had lately, this piece is really bad news, at least in regards to one specific rider. Bari, probably our biggest prospect. 5-star prospect, 5.5-star puncher, strong sprinter, strong at almost everything. I mean, we're looking, look at that web. Look at the blue. We're looking at a 4.5 to 5-star prospect at virtually everything. A little bit off on the cobbles, but, good enough to be 3.5, 4-star almost kind of guy in the cobbles. Today, it was announced that his 5-star rating is now only going to be a 3.5-star rating. That web will change. He's already 3 stars. That web is going to shrink down to damn near what he is at right now. Bari is now a bust. Bari is in the final year of his contract, and this is going to be it for Bari. Damn. We struggled to find enough riders coming through in Africa as it is to have the guy who's easily one of our 2 or 3 best prospects, if not the best prospect, suddenly become a bust. And no boost. Nobody else changed, just him for us this year. Nobody had an increased rating. That's it. One guy downgraded by a full 1.5 stars. Sucks. Building objectives on this screen is nice. It's all laid out for you. It's quick. It's easy. But to clean it up in the end, one of the best methods to then go through and make sure that you have enough gaps and see if there's a glaring hole that you could fill in. For me, 3 objective periods, right? You can have back-to-back, like, say, classics within the same week or so of each other. That's one period of objectives. You can just get 3 races in that period. And that's one of the reasons why I like that. There's a lot more points involved. But anyway, splitting it up. Tour de France and La Vuelta, that's a little too close. You can see that we're not getting the proper rest period. We're going to go straight into prepping for La Vuelta. That's going to be problematic. That's going to make Arab a little tired by the time we hit that, but that is what it is. But going through rider by rider and seeing big holes. Bari's a big example. Of course, this was a couple days ago before he was labeled as somebody who was going to suddenly be a bust. But we had him with an objective at the end of the year because there was a big gap after his mid-year objective. He's got his triple objective here in the early phase of the year, but that was it. April. Mid-April. But March is too close. February's pushing it. We probably could have maybe done like Andalusia, but getting an early season. I forgot that Tour of Australia. There is no invites. There is 0 invites for that one. It's the 18 World Tour teams. It starts with Great Oceania after it as the first, so we might have to swap him to something else. But that element, that filling in big holes, is best done kind of through this screen, where you're able to kind of isolate objective by objective, and I use that to help set us up. 50K left in our first World Tour race of the year. This is the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, as it was previously known, following up that Tour of Australia. It's still January. That Tour of Australia had no bids, so we weren't there. This is a small field, and it's actually a bigger opportunity to get a result than almost any World Tour race of the season, because most of the teams are not bringing powerhouses to this one. Now, we don't have a powerhouse when it comes to a sprint team, but we brought the entire sprint team here, and with no other early season opportunity and needing a sufficient break to the later objectives of the year involving our sprinters. We do have an objective here. Now, a lot of them were only carrying a +1. And as a result, we're actually not looking great. We've got a +2 as a team, which is a negative race day condition as a unit. But De Villiers, our main sprinter, has a +4. Bosco, one of our better support guys, has a +5. It is giving us a chance as we get into the final 31K, and there's one rider attacking. You see that little hill, though, is costly. We lost a lot of ground there. So this 77 is not going to be sufficient for the next time we hit it. And really, we've got another hill coming up here shortly, so it's time to start stepping this up into, like, say, an 83 range for this one. And even now, we're still blinking red a little bit, but the drift is less severe. Got to try to save some energy. 24K to go. 2 times through that climb, and we're definitely going to be in our sprint train when we hit it the next 2 times. We won't need to worry about it as much, but that time is coming soon. And without any sufficient break and a smaller field, this is feeling like an opportunity. The winners from the previous years for this one are guys that are mid, like weaker end sprinters. And the field that's here, the favorite list today, none of them stand out in any substantial manner. 15.6K. No, the pace is lifted. This is the time. We're about to hit that hill. I don't want to be caught out on the hill. So Benuna and his -5. Kareem and a -3. These guys are going first. Lottering was the other lead out domestique guy. Swap those two. Got to. Absolutely got to swap them. Maccabee is weaker on the flat, but he's a sprinter. Daniels is good on the flat, so he could be a lead out guy. And then Maccabee is going to give you the same damn thing that you're going to get out of Daniels. In fact, +1 on that overall top speed. It's just going to take him a bit to get there, but that's not a bad thing. He'll slowly bring Bosco, our lead out guy today, thanks to a +5. But that acceleration speed is gonna hurt. Yeah, no, we gotta use that acceleration to get De Villiers up to the top speed. And then, all right, Benuna 99 to get moving. We don't need to stay there, especially on the hill. For now, just trying to get up the hill without getting caught out while getting lined up, and we're in good position now. See, those 4 guys might have broken away had we not started our push there before the hill, but that gets us first guy through and 11K. Lottering's gonna take over, especially before that next hill. We've split the field. We have split the field temporarily. Lottering pushing on. Benuna. Hold on. My new mouse has been on delay, and I'm a couple days away from getting it. There we go. Actually, no, I think the mouse has been delayed even further. It's the rest of my stuff that I ordered that's coming in a couple of days. Last hill, and we still have the gap. No, gap has been closed thanks to the hill. Lottering definitely putting... Benuna sitting up. We got our separation, folks. Let's go win this thing. Let's go win this thing, huh? Okay. Kareem is going to take over in just a moment. Lottering giving me a little more push. 5K. Again, let's get back into the follow. Get that rotation. Now, is there anybody we can set that we want to get a win? Like Kareem, it's too late for that. He's already out front. Oh, we are winning this, folks. We are big time winning this race. There is no chance. 2 guys separating. 2.7K. It's too late for Kareem. Gel for everyone. Okay, this is already far enough. 1.5K. Others are going to start a sprint. If we don't sprint, it's done, right? We're going to get beat, so... we're going to get a 1, 2, 3, and so on. Got to do that right. 500 meters. De Villiers, can he come over the top, or is Bosco going to get the win? Bosco's going to get the win. His first. Good for Rwanda. De Villiers gets second. Maccabee gets third in his first ever race. Daniels gets fourth. Lottering gets fifth. And Kareem gets sixth. Folks, we just opened the year with an insane amount of points because we didn't just win. We swept first through freaking sixth place. Benuna got 70th. He was toast right at the end. Kareem was toast right at the end. That's why I couldn't rely on him at that point anymore. But what the heck? We just demolished that field. Oh, that is some big time points. We're going to go look specifically at what we just earned in points here in a moment. Couple things. That was our second biggest sponsor objective of the year that we just nailed a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on. Mallorca was also one of the bigger objectives, and those are the only 2 races we've even been to yet. We had a 7th place finish at Mallorca with Sammy Arab, but they wanted us to finish first. So, oops. No matter, we already have a high evaluation, and there's not much left on the calendar that can hurt us. Milano Torino and Frankfurt Classic, that's about it. Everything else is going to be very minor. So, wow. We're 2 races into the year, and our sponsor confidence is nearly secure for the year already. We've had to push forward a handful of days as rankings are now done on a weekly basis and not daily. 1,210 points puts us right to the top of the rankings here to start the month of February. And I have done 1 race, 1 day. That's it so far. Good start. Just a reminder that all World Tour races are not equal. They're not created the same. Class C for World Tour races, bit of a lower rank, Frankfurt. One of our main objectives. These are the easier ones. These are the ones where they're sending lesser riders. But we didn't submit to that, and we find ourselves with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From 6th, we picked up 115 points alone. If I did my math correctly, that's 1,175 points from this one race, which would go pretty much in line with the 1,200 we have right now over a couple races. That's a lot of points if we're talking 10K for an entire year. That's 10% of our points for the year on our first day of racing. Great start. Admittedly, I let the AI do a little bit of the work for me here at the start of the year, largely because you don't have all those World Tour races scheduled until time goes on, especially at the beginning of the year, so they come thick and fast. Getting into those races, the gap in between when you actually get the invite and when the race takes place, that gap increases over the course of the season. You have more and more prep time as those races pop up. So selecting the calendar, especially in January, you don't know if you're in the races until, a week, 2 weeks before them. And so AI planning already occurred, and then I'm filling in and adjusting as we go along, taking some names out. We've already had a broken hand for new guy Maccabee, who you just saw get 3rd place in his first ever race, get a podium. Fortunately, he had a gap, and we haven't had to change things there yet. But for us, with a lot of minor races coming up over the next little bit, plenty of them sponsor objectives, I'm not going to worry about it. Sponsor confidence right now is 100%. UAE Trophy and Omloop Ghent. Omloop Het Nieuwsblad is where we're going to be heading next, especially Het Nieuwsblad. That's going to be one of the bigger ones. UAE Trophy, we're not overly committed to it, but hey, look, Sammy Arab and Mason Samuels have both picked that race up as objectives because I had to keep their objective early in the season. So we've gone ahead and picked up the first stage race, World Tour level, that we can manage to be a part of. That meant something. That actually on the surface is pretty dang easy for us to do because it's one short time trial, one medium mountain stage, and one mountain stage. After that, it's all sprint stages that we don't need to worry about. Keeps it short, keeps it neat. And that's where we're headed in a second. Primoz Roglic, 40 years of age now, making just 27K a month, but also just a 4.5 star guy at this point. 75 mountain, 77 medium mountain, 75 hills is all that's left in the legs at 40. But 20 Grand Tours, 6 victories, 94 career victories, 2 career monuments. Pretty dang good, but he's still got the rest of this year, so he's got some time left. Our third best is no longer a Shimway, but Josh DeVilliers. He has leveled up. He has just about maxed out his hills, so he had just started shifting his training to climbing, and that is where his points have come. I believe, if I remember correctly, he was a 68 mountain and a 70 medium mountain, so he's picked up 1 and 2 points respectively in those, while hills remains the same. He's got maybe 1 point left in hills, so a 79 potential there. The climbing, though, could actually go quite a bit higher. It could get 80 plus. He's just been a little slow to progress to get his levels, but he's got plenty left in him. 77 stamina already, 74 resistance, 76 recovery. Gives him a pretty dang good chance that if we could get those climbing ratings going with it, he could be a really good, strong, all-around rider, minus time trialing. So he's not going to be a GC guy when a time trial exists, but he could be a pretty strong rider. But at 23 already, and just 69 mountain rating, even though there's a ton of potential there, I have a hard time seeing him getting all the way to that maximum. Even in, say, 4 years, I could still see him struggling to get much higher than about 75 by that point, maybe 78. Neglecting your sponsors is a good way to find yourself in a whole heap of trouble, but we've got this big World Tour calendar to make up for it. Bounce Back AI on its own in 7 objectives has managed to just succeed once. Mason Samuel's getting 3rd at the Route of Oman. Mostly it was just top 25s. I mean, the only thing that was even close was Andalusia, where Oceania got 6th. Top 5 would have at least been a partial failure and a little bit better off. Our next objective is not until the middle of March, and it's one we have focused pretty heavily on with Milano-Torino and the Frankfurt Classic, both of them, and they're the last 2 objectives of the year. They can really, really bring this results one up, and nothing in the noteworthy results right now, because the Great Oceania was on our list. So noteworthy results usually comes down to something unexpected, and if the sponsor was already expecting you to do well at a race and you go on and do well, that doesn't show up as a bonus. That's just good on that particular objective. Squad evaluation is pretty good, and you can see Janssen is a double plus popular. Samuels is 6 pluses. A Shimway is 6 pluses to get into races. That's going to help us out, but there's only 2 objectives left, so it's not going to matter so much anymore. The registered riders is actually a decent evaluation. The squad evaluation is pretty good too. The Eritrea one, still fine. I find that weird because we have a lot of Eritreans, but they want us to have a mostly Eritrean team to really meet those needs. The Rwanda part's looking really good, especially with the Shimway, who's our most popular thanks to his polka dot win. At 12K UAE stage number 2, this time trial is very short. Sammy Arab gets a +1. It's actually worse than expected. As a team, we have a +9 net expected race day condition. And a lot of the guys are going to be coming thick and fast. The first stage was a sprint stage. The effort definitely needs to fall in between an 86 and an 87. You want to start out strong and then back off just a little bit once you get up to pace. And then you can push again a little bit later on. Benuna, nice, +5. That gives him an 80 prologue and an 81 time trial. Benuna could be putting in a very good time here. And you can see how we are overtaking Bernsrud. Benuna settling in well. Arab was 12th, 20 seconds down at the first time check, even though we had backed off for a good while there. and we're going to get him set last 3K. We'll have to take over Benuna just after that as Hanouk. Oh man, hard to control this, hard to control. Arab's gone too hard. Hold on. 1K to go. Come on, Hanouk, give me something here. Oh man, and then Musa. Arab runs out of energy a little bit. That's going to cost him a couple seconds. 12th, 41 seconds. Benuna can definitely push an 87 now. Hanouk needs to back off to an 86. And yeah, trying to find the balance with this many guys going at the same time is tricky. All right, back to Benuna. 4K to go for him. He could have a really, really good time. Arab got a good time, 41 seconds down. That's going to set him up nicely for the couple coming stages, as most of these guys outside of, like, say, Foss. Frischknecht is a very good climber, too. Good young one, so those two are two of the favorites. And Benuna, yeah, that actually almost worked out perfectly for him. 7th, 21 seconds down. Way too hard, way too long for Musa. We might even have to back off to an 85. Oh, he's a terrible time trialist anyway, so we will back off to an 85. Hanouk, good race day condition for him, puts him to a 70-70, so that's an even split. 12K, it's a little more prologue than time trial, but not by much. 17.5K would be where the even split is, so it's definitely maybe 2/3 prologue in terms of the split down the middle between them. Oh, Hanouk. Sorry, too late, buddy. But we'll push hard this final kilometer. 32nd, minute 26. That's how fast the times really, really start to separate. Musa, my bad. Gosh, I didn't manage him well, but he's going to be terrible on his time anyway. 2:07 now. Daniel's a -5. Ouch. Literally the worst draw you can have. And that completely throws out any chance of a +9 we had today. Janssen was a 0. Arab was a +1. We had a +3 and a +2. Oh gosh, what was our other one? Was he 0? So far that was a +6. Now it's down to a +1. Over an expected 9. Even a +5 for Samuels will still leave us a -3 for the day, mostly because of Daniel's draw. Now the good news is Daniel's is completely irrelevant. Yeah, he's not a climber. He's not a time trialist. So him getting absolutely hammered in this race, no difference. But even that, take that -5 back, we still have a negative. But it is a good draw for Samuels. It is a good draw. How good is it? It's a +5. It does offset. We got a +5 for Samuels and the terrible time trialist. That's a 69-73 with, let's see, 2/3 split, like 72, 71-ish. That's still all he gets. A 71 is all Samuels ends up getting. He's on a +5, and he's still that weak of a time trialist. He will not be 12.5 minutes behind today, though. That much is true. In fact, just 38 seconds down at the first time check, but he has had to back off a bit to make it to the finish. But there we are, taking over Van Sevenent, and that is very good. 123 down, still only 40th place. As we're getting into the final riders, you can see McNulty is here, Foss, Van Wilder. Trying to think who else is strong climbers. Frischknecht. Huggins, okay. Champeson, certainly going to be okay. And there's Arab still in the top 20. Ethan Hayter is 20th. So there are definitely a handful of strong climbers in and around that top 20. But we've got two guys up there out of that handful, or plus 4 or 5 guys in addition to them. That puts us at a pretty good starting spot for this race. No objectives or anything. This is all about points. We've already seen a World Tour C victory, not even being enough for Rwanda, which is definitely on the lower end of our prime nations. It's going to take something bigger than a World Tour C win. Wins last year, World Tour was not something we did much. Was it just the 2 times? It might have been just the 2, both at the Tour de France, actual wins that we had at World Tour level. We've already had one this year, so great start there. We've already got half of what we had all of last year at that highest level. But Benuna takes 11th, Arab takes 19th in the general. They're both in and around those places they were previously. So as we're coming up on the end of February, it's been a fairly busy calendar, but a lot of minor races that we sent minor riders to spread those days out. We're already looking at about 20 to 30 days ridden for all of our guys by time we get to about March. So that's a pretty busy start to our calendar. I both added and subtracted some races when I went into the calendar selection, took off a few of our 1.1s if it made it to 4 races. We don't have a team built to do more than 3. We've got like 2 guys spare. The moment we start picking up those injuries, then those 2 spares go out the window, and you might even end up shorthanded, but we certainly cannot field a team for 4 races at the same time. Can handle 3. So I subtracted about 4 races out for that reason. I did add in 4 races, so actually we ended up replacing them. I think 2 of those 4 were Continental Pro races, 2 of those were minor Continental races, and they were to fill gaps where, like last year, we had that big dead period where you had the Tour de France and nothing else going on around it, and so a lot of the guys lost motivation and or were overly fatigued. So it led to a struggle at the end of the season, trying to get that straightened out a little bit better this year. But our big goal last year was to, get those few wins, boost that popularity a little bit, and see what happens with the training structure. And we got 3 points for the 3 primary nations. Now the big question is, well, what about, can you do that again? As it gets higher, the threshold, of course, rises, but can you continue to do that? What I noticed about all of this, though, was that Eritrea was one of the points. It was one of them. Girmay was in the top 10. But look at the list. Zerai, he was 7th. Johannes Dalek was 6th. He's lost some points here to start the season. Zerai did not get a team for this year. That sucks. And yet he just moved up in the rankings even though he doesn't have a team. But Johannes Dalek, man, that did not get a training point for Eritrea. That did. So, Girmay, who got one back in season 1 and had in the following years been in the top 10 of the rankings every single season except for one where he was in the top 25. He went to a different team that year, and they just didn't get into the big races, and he had a rough year. But the next year, he bounced back. All those years in the top 10, no training points after that first one. And then all of a sudden this year, he's back. So it's not limited to 1 point per rider, which means Samuels or Janssen, Samuels and Oshimwe, because they have gotten us a point, right? Can't be anyone. Specifically, Samuels got us a point for South Africa. Clearly, it was him. He was in the top 20. He was the highest ranking. He's the one who got us that point. He can get us another. But he did raise them up a level. So with a raised level, the threshold's going to be higher. Top 20 may not be enough. He might have to be top 15 or top 10 next time to get another point, potentially. Oshimwe got Rwanda a point. Did it with significantly less points, quite a bit further down the ranking. So maybe that actually does mean that Samuel still has a chance, even if he's just top 20 once again. But that does mean those guys can get another one. Maybe the odds decrease. Maybe that's what is going on with Girmay in that. I wish I knew the coding. I wish I knew exactly what was going on so that we could plan around that, plan accordingly, and plan how to improve, right? Real world, that's still something you're going to do. not in the same way that you would do that here in a game, but you would still plan. You want to build your infrastructure, don't have the funding, but you go to, someone at a state level, and that is an authority figure on the world of sport that would make that sort of decision, and they're going to tell you what it is to get that funded, what is necessary. Here's what we expect of you. We need you to make our nation popular. You are a team based in South Africa, and South African authority says we need you to have a South African rider go and win a stage of the Tour de France, because we need young cyclists to get into the sport. So if we're going to build this training structure for you, we need X, Y, and Z. That's exactly what's happening here in game. It's just there's specifics behind it. And there's going to be specifics behind it in the real world too. There's going to be a specific requirement that somebody's going to give. They're going to tell you, finish in the top 10, and then you got to go out and do it. Same as what we have with the sponsors. So, why that's not in the rule book or something like that, I'd really like to see that there. What is required to move up level by level? At least when it came to riders leveling up, you can go into the database itself and record the information, see when they level up, and do the math, which is exactly what I did. That's why I know when and how each of the 20 levels come across. And if I were to go into the database editor and track that, I would know when to expect level ups to come along on a rider by rider basis. I'm not doing that. I've been into the database only once since I started the series, and that was to alter our sponsor to MTN to make it we made it an Eritrean sponsor. It was supposed to be a South African sponsor, but the South Africa one wouldn't take. That's the only time I've been in the database, and I made sure not to spoil anything. I did not look at any other writers, and I've not been in there since. Anyway, sorry, this drug on longer than expected. It was supposed to be a quick outro. That's going to do it for this episode. I think our season is off to a fairly good start, but it's not all smell and roses, as that sponsor confidence took a big hit as we used the AI to push us through our sponsor period. Now, with only 2 objectives remaining, they're at least big ones, but they might be more important because we go and win a big race, sweep all of the top placings, and it hasn't done much of anything to help our sponsor confidence. So we got a lot of work to do. We're going to need some results at those 2 races and probably elsewhere if we're going to see that sponsor confidence get where we need it to see it get to that 100%. So from that good start, not so much after. Points wise, good start. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.